Good morning and welcome to Coffee and, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee and panel.
All right, it is Coffee and here on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us. Wednesday morning, it's October 2nd. And my name's Joe Callahan. Around the coffee and table, we'll say good morning to Tim Draper. Good morning, Tim.
Hi, Joe.
From
Hi,
Navigate
Melissa.
Credit Union.
Good
Melissa
morning.
Smith from the St. Antoine Communities is here as well. Nice to have both of you with us this morning. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240. But Melissa, time for your first message from the St. Antoine Communities.
So where to begin? It's been a very busy couple months at St. Antoine Community. Capping off with the highlight of the season for me yesterday, we had a very special visitor. We welcomed Senator Jack Reed to the property yesterday to deliver a $250,000 federal grant check.
Nice.
To St. Antoine Community?
To St. Antoine Community.
Big check presentation.
Specifically, earmarked for Primrose Lane and everything we're doing to really draw attention to those that are suffering with Alzheimer's and trying to provide some financial relief for them. And obviously, I've shared on the air that, we're one of the few assisted living memory care units in the northern part of the state that offers a Medicaid waiver option for it. And Alzheimer's care is very expensive, but it's also very necessary. And we were just thrilled to know that, Jack Reed was paying attention and was as supportive as we needed him to be and really came through. This was a 2-year effort for us. So it was nice to welcome him yesterday. It was nice to have him tour the unit. There will be some media footage shared probably sometime today. But yeah, we just want to say thank you so much and to just really highlight our appreciation of the work that he did to help us achieve that grant. So thank you.
He's not even running for office.
He's not even running for office.
He's not for re-election, that's right.
It's been a bit since I've seen him speak in person. Obviously, he's a little shorter than me. I don't think I'm saying anything that's not a fact.
Yeah.
But he delivers with just such a genuine.
He's soft-spoken.
He's very soft-spoken, and it just connects with the audience. And you could tell that he really meant it when he said that he sees the numbers are on the rise, and he's worried, and this is a little something that he could do to make a contribution. But he recognized the hard work of our caregivers. We had a lot of family members present yesterday, and we had obviously our staff management team was there. We didn't want to overwhelm the unit by opening up too big, so we had to keep it somewhat of a modest group. But even our residents were pretty funny, and without saying names and this is really lighthearted, this little story. But we're listening to Jack speak, or Senator Reed, speak, and one of our residents, kept hearing him say all these nice things about St. Antoine Community, and she's like, I really got to get to St. Antoine Community. And it was just so, it just echoes, with those that have been around folks with dementia and Alzheimer's, the innocence of that comment.
Yeah.
But the fact that he spoke so highly of it and on the work that we're doing, she just thought, I got to get there. So it was kind of a soft, sweet moment for us, for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, there goes Joe.
Yeah.
See you, Joe.
I hear Rolling Thunder.
See, that's the beauty part of Rhode Island. You can say, we're speaking with Jack, and people will know you're probably talking about the senator.
Probably.
Jack, Sheldon, Dan,
Yep.
Yeah.
Sabina.
Yep.
But you go to other states,
Gabe,
and
Seth.
because Tom Ward told the story one time. He was in California, and he was, I forget who the lieutenant governor was, but the lieutenant governor called him, and the people out there would say, how important are you back in Rhode Island that the lieutenant governor calls you?
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They were impressed because they said the only time we ever see the lieutenant governor out here is when it's election time.
Mm-hmm.
So he must have known the lieutenant governor.
Yeah, and I just forget who it was at the time. But it was a very funny story.
Oh, so that's great.
So
And
you're all
you know,
set.
I think-
Going by first names is fine.
I'll say one more quick snippet and then I'll get away from it, I promise. But, obviously I had to contribute to the speech for our administrators. And so just doing a little deep diving into some of his background. And we all know his education. He went to LaSalle and he went to West Point, et cetera, et cetera. I just think there's all this general attention on his military background and the support of his military initiatives. it takes away from all the other stuff that he's really worked on. And I think it was, for myself included, very interesting to see how much work he is doing for the aging population right now. And it doesn't get enough attention. And maybe I'm just biased. Maybe it's because I love the old folks. And I worked in the community for many years before coming to St. Antoine Community and being on the long-term care side of things. But it doesn't get as much traction as I would say he gets for the military component.
Well,
so hopefully that brings a lot more light to the work that he is doing for human services and most specifically for the aging population.
I mean, he's chairman of Armed Services, I think. Right?
Yes, he is.
So that's the one he's always going to get the.
Always.
He was on. I think he's on banking too, but I'm not 100% sure.
But even when he's on like national networks being interviewed, usually it's something relating to
Military.
what he's doing for the military.
Yep.
Yeah, which is much deserved
They
and
got a-
needed.
Right.
It
They
just
got a lot
was
to consider these days. don't they?
eye-opening to see this other side of him and some like a passion project, let's say.
All right, very good. Well, things that are going on. We over the last couple of days, we've had a lot of people passing away in the entertainment field and in the sports field. Pete Rose, Kevin Mutombo.
It happens in threes. Are you about to deliver
well,
now?
You know,
No,
I
now
got to
it's-
tell you,
now
Joe,
it's a fourth.
I'm aggravated at Major League Baseball for not putting Pete in before he died.
So am I.
That's
Yeah.
just
It was
that is just
wrong.
unconscionable. That
One of the
ticks me off.
One
One
of
more
the,
reason to not watch baseball.
One of the commissioners of baseball should have come up and said, "All right, it's been long enough."
Yeah.
He was ousted in 1989, given the lifetime ban. They should have said, "We made a mistake,
Yep.
and it's been 10 years or 15 years or whatever, how many years? Okay, you're now back in,
Right.
so he can go into the Hall of Fame."
Right.
And now, yeah, they'll do it posthumously, but big deal.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think you said it yesterday. If I were the family, I would just ignore it, and I would too.
don't
I
even
wouldn't.
go.
I wouldn't give
Just
it
forget
the
it.
time of day.
You know, you want to send me the little plaque in the mail? Go ahead. But I'm not going to Cooperstown to be there to say, "Oh, thank you," and all the accolades.
Right,
So-
right. Because I would be aggravated about it.
But the other death in the entertainment industry, John Amos,
I know. I saw that this morning.
passed away. Big in the now.
Roots
Tim's
was
gonna
his-
remember. Roots was huge.
Was his first.
Do you
show.
remember Roots and Melissa?
I remember Roots, but I
Okay.
don't remember him. Oh, no.
He was
I do
adult
remember him.
Kunta
Yeah.
I do
Kinte.
remember him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
And
He was in something else too,
he was in
notably.
He was in Good
Good
Times.
Times.
Good Times. That's what it
Do you
was.
remember Good
I
Times?
do.
Yep.
Okay. I know Tim and I are going to
That
remember
old
Good
man.
Times. Well, that's it.
Who
The-
doesn't?
The first 3 seasons of Good Times are so funny,
Yeah.
mostly because of John Amos.
Yep.
Now, and for whatever reason, they pushed Jimmy Walker, and he had to say dynamite every
Yeah,
single time.
yeah.
And that's why he was fired. He didn't like the way that character was going.
He didn't like John Amos was fired
Right.
because he didn't like the way the
Jimmy
his
Walker,
characters-
no, the way Jimmy Walker, the way
really?
JJ
Yeah.
was going. And they said he's acting stupid and juvenile, and
Yeah.
you know, he's got to be a grown-up. And they said no, and so they fired him.
Well,
And so that's why they wrote him off the show. They killed him off the show, actually.
they did kill him off the show.
But if you watch the first 3 seasons, he's the funniest
Yeah.
on the show. Jimmy Walker's just being silly. But John Amos is great. And my favorite episode, I don't know if you remember this one, the daughter, now I can't remember her name.
I can picture her, but I
Because
don't remember.
there were the 3 kids. Anyway, the daughter, who's 17, is supposed to be playing a character 17 at the time, was dating Thelma. Thank you very much, very good. Was dating what turned out to be an older man that was close to 40, played by Louis Gossett Jr. in a very early role. So he almost had hair too. But that episode is so funny because John Amos is furious
Yeah.
that his daughter's dating this older man.
Yeah, probably as old as he was.
Well, in the show, he's supposed to be a few years younger, but
Yeah.
not much.
Yeah.
And so them going back and forth is, if you can find that on YouTube, it is so funny. It is so funny, and that's too bad.
Right.
And it was great. He was great in Roots.
Yeah,
and
he was.
in everything else he basically
Yep.
did. So, and he almost didn't go into acting.
Really?
Just reading a little stuff on him yesterday. Played college football.
Oh, well, I could see that. He's a big
I can
guy.
see he's a huge man.
Yeah.
And as usual, what happens is they get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And you hurt your shoulder, you hurt your knee, and now the pros don't want you, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to do something else. So
Yeah.
off he goes to acting. So, all right, the vice presidential debate was last night. Did anybody watch any of it? I caught a first half hour.
I saw most of it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was bored with the first debate. I know you look at me. Yeah, I was impressed though. I will tell you, it was unlike the first one with the presidents. It was far more civil.
Yep.
They were discussing policies and philosophies and things like that. That they were
just that. Okay.
just that they weren't throwing barbs at each other.
No.
They were calling each other by names respectfully. Apparently, afterwards they introduced each other's wives to each other.
Wow.
So I mean, there was a civility to it that I was like, boy, did we miss this civility? This is
Yeah.
what a debate should be about, just like this.
Now, in the first half hour, I noticed that the two moderators at one point shut somebody's mic off. They muted it.
They both.
They
did it both. They did it to both of them.
Did they do
Yeah.
it later in the debate too, or did they only do it during the
I
first
only
half
recall
hour?
them doing it once, and they
Okay.
said the audience
we've
can't
done-
hear you because, and there was no
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
Nobody can hear you because we just shut your mics off.
And then we could hear them.
A little bit.
They
'cause
were way
was-
in the
yeah,
background.
right?
I think he started getting tangled up in the legalities of voting laws and process of filing a vote legally. I
Yeah.
don't know. I started getting a little bit lost in there, but it had
It was
it had to
around the
do with-
January 6th thing. Right?
Exactly. And so I think JD Vance was going a little rogue and they were shutting him off. And then Tim White was trying to jump in there.
Okay.
Walsh, sorry. Walsh.
Tim Walz.
Yeah, Welch.
Welch.
Welch. WALTZ.
What, Tim
Welch.
White? I'm like, wait, that's local news. My brain.
Welch.
I had the
He was a
TW,
coach.
right?
Yeah, he was a coach.
I thought it was WALZ.
Is it ALZ? Yeah, Waltz.
Waltz. Not Waltz.
Not
like a,
waltz. Not you're
Not like the
dancing.
waltzing, not tango, waltz. Yeah, no, waltz. WALZ.
Anyway, so that's from the first half hour, I couldn't tell. It seemed 50-50 to me.
Yeah.
Do you think
It
someone did
seemed
better?
like the reporting was 50-50. I think every channel I turned to was sort of saying it was,
I think
So there was no real clear-cut winner.
other than I think myself included,
Yeah.
was a little impressed with JD Vance's stage presence.
yeah.
I think
I was too with that.
and I was a little didn't want to be impressed by it because I think I've seen enough sound bites of some of his inappropriate comments. But I thought he was very polished and poised and delivered his argument very well. And
Do you think
that's
there's any?
all.
Do you
That's what
think
I'm
there's any
impressed
chance that the inappropriate comments that you see as sound bites are not uncontextualized? You don't know what anything before or after was the conversation. You just
I
know
think
what the sound bite is.
I think-
See, and I think that the media does that really well, because I had heard that he was very much against IVF, in vitro fertilization, and doing all that stuff. Last night, I heard him say out of his lips that no, we want everybody to have access to that. And I don't
But
know
is
whether
that convenient because you now have a national state? I don't know. I don't know, Tim. I think
you know,
this is what's
but this is
twisted
the
our
problem.
brains up.
Right,
Our
this
brains
is
are very
this is
twisted
why
up.
it's so hard.
Yep.
But Trump did say that at his last debate. No, I want
Everybody to have
access to it.
Right.
He wants insurance companies to pay for it
right.
nationally. So
But this is what kills you because you sit there and you listen to that and you want to believe it, but then there's so much of Trump's past that
Well, that's
states
the problem.
otherwise. Is he
I
just
mean, that's
telling
the
you and
problem.
feeding you what he wants you to hear so that
Right.
way he gets into office and then he's going to change his tune? So women in America, I'm going to put myself on that platform because you guys
you are a
you guys
woman
like
in
to point to
America.
me, but we are very concerned that he is just now changing his tune on a lot of these topics because this is what he needs. He knows he needs to get into office, and then once he's in office, is he going to flip the script? So it's an uncomfortable spot to be in because you don't know what to believe.
right.
And it's yeah.
Well, I still don't think that the president has all the authority to do some of the things that everybody thinks he's immediately going to do. He's got some ability to do some executive orders. A lot of the things he wants to do need to have congressional
Yeah.
approval, and they have to create law. And we know that Congress is dysfunctional. So almost no matter who you put in there is another 4 years of dysfunction, unless you put in the same party for all three branches or all three places. And that's also a bad thing. I think when you just give everybody that much power, the chances of you never relinquishing that power and going down a slippery slope, aka Rhode Island, you just it's not a good place to be. I would rather have two branches of government in opposite corners fighting it out and not getting much done than one just unilaterally getting everything they want done, because there's a whole part of the country that's going to go no, and that just divides the country even further.
What's very worrisome right now as a voter who is a very torn voter, I will say, and I don't ever like to get into where I stand, and I still will not do that. But what I can say is there's so many buckets that need attention right now from obviously we have major international matters happening right now and erupting right now, and you've got global warming concerns, you have women's rights concerns, like I could keep going on and on and on, like Social Security, where we're going to be at with Medicare, all of it. Where there's, with all these topics and all these buckets, there's not one candidate that aligns with me perfectly on these talking points. And I'm struggling with that because I don't know what matters most to me as a voter.
pick one.
I can't.
But isn't that always the case, though? Isn't that always the issue?
I don't know.
You just don't line up with one person
100%.
perfectly.
But Tim, me 17 years ago, before I had my first daughter, me, back then, single, newly married person, the world ahead of me, my life ahead of me.
Yep.
There's some things that were much more of important to me back then.
Yep.
But it was very close-sighted, very nearsighted. Now that I've got two girls, I'm
things
looking,
change.
what is my vote right now going to matter for 20 years from now?
Yep.
That's where the global warming piece comes in. That's where the women's rights come in. The international matters, it's like right in front of us. It's scary. It's very scary. And war is a real possibility. It's right there dangling, but it's just, it's the moment. Yeah. And there will always be war. There will always be conflict, I guess, which is awful to say too.
I'm
So
of the
I
belief
sound a little ignorant in that.
A lot of that conflict is 2,000 years old. There's nothing anybody's going to do
nothing.
about that.
No.
You're right. We do got to take a break here in the Coffee and program, so it's time for a second message from Melissa Smith from the St. Antoine communities, and more will be coming your way. So go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, so I will just talk. I mentioned it's been a very busy couple months, and I will just point out the fact that this past Saturday, the 28th of September, it's a blur, we had our first open house at St. Antoine Community for quite some time, since really pre-COVID. It felt so good to get back on track and really open our doors up at the property and allow folks to come in and just get a sneak peek as to what happens in assisted living or in memory care or in our rehab, and what is the process to transition my loved one from home into our community. And so it was nice. It was nice to have that transparency. It was nice to have folks come in and say, oh, wow, it was really nice to see exactly what it looks like and meet the faces that would be providing the care, or the people like me who would be helping with the admissions process, and to understand their finances and where does it land them. So a lot of advanced planning happened on Saturday, and so it felt good. And I didn't want you to think you missed out. Two things. One, you can always reach out and get a private tour. An open house is an open house, but we are always available to meet with you and kind of help you through the process of understanding what's going on in your life and your situation. But we are going to have a second open house this month of October at St. Antoine Community. Hold on, let me have some of my coffee. So October 26th is going to be our second open house date. We specifically put 2 dates on the calendar this fall, knowing not everybody could come out on one. Let's offer a second one just in case. So if you missed out on this past weekends in September, feel free to come back out and see us on October 26th. We will be open again from 10 to noon. Same team will be there, so we'll have some nursing staff there, obviously myself and my marketing team there. The administrators were there, and we'd be happy to help you out.
All right, Melissa, thanks. And the Coffee and program will continue here on ON Radio. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up gołąbki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
ON, AM, and FM.
It's Coffee and here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us this morning. Joe Callahan here with Melissa Smith and Tim Draper. So we had the story, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and this gentleman from, I don't know what gentleman is the right word, but this man from Pawtucket who allegedly was out on the bike path, not wearing anything, jumping out at the women.
Oh, yeah.
Was in court yesterday, and a no contest plea was entered for him. 66-year-old Thomas Belanger, and he was released on $10,000 personal recognizance. Yeah. We hope he comes back for his pretrial services. Comes back. We don't have a time when he's going to be back. But he was given counseling, and he has a no trespass order for the Cumberland side of the Blackstone River bike path. Well, what about the other side?
No, there's no way
Is that okay?
How do you
police
enforce a
it?
no trespass order
Only-
unless you put an ankle bracelet on him and you know
Well-
where he is at all times?
The police do go up and down the bike path every once in a while, so if he happens to get caught on the bike path in Cumberland again, okay, now you're in more trouble. But that means you can jump ahead and, I don't know, come on and be in the Woonsocket area of the bike path. Though that's perfectly fine.
Sounds to me like this gentleman needs some mental health.
Well, it looks like he's going to get some. So, but they keep saying he was charged with indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, and possession of child pornography. And they're not focusing in on that. Well, where did he get that? And was it on him? Was it with him?
Right.
At his bicycle? Did you see his bike?
Yeah, it had all his clothes in nice little shopping bags.
In plastic bags hanging off the bike. Was it in the plastic bag, or was it in his home when they went back to Pawtucket?
I don't know.
I'm not getting any of that information. So.
The whole thing is weird.
It is bizarre. That's bizarre. The other bizarre story, and
no exercise. That's why I don't go on a bike path.
The public service announcement from Tim: don't exercise.
You could run into naked men, then that would be bad.
I don't know that. Yeah, I'm gonna be quiet.
Do you know that this must have happened like 5 or 6 years ago at a Planet Fitness in New Hampshire, where the guy came out of the men's locker room, not wearing anything, and walks to like a treadmill or the weights or whatever, and starts working out.
Naked?
Yes.
He was in the wrong Planet Fitness.
No, and so they walk up to, obviously people are going to say something, and now the managers are going to come over. What are you doing? Well, this was it's, and his reasoning was, this is a judgment-free zone. It's in your advertising. And so this should be perfectly fine, and no one should say anything.
This is not judgment. It's not a matter of judgment. It's a matter of it's illegal.
That's a real smack of the head. Not that judgment-free.
Oh my God!
So that's a true story.
Well, see, be careful in your
story.
Truth in marketing.
It happened up in that's right. It happened in New Hampshire.
They should totally my whole brain is working right now.
I got a lot of
ad.
There's a bunch of things up here going on. I can't say any of them.
Why would they not use that and spin it on a commercial spot for them?
God. Like this is the wrong judgment-free zone.
I think they'd be too worried about others copycatting.
Oh, so what?
Doing it
judgment-free with one exception.
And we don't want to upset the women. We like them. They come and work out.
We'll do two
here.
commercials then.
So we'll do two.
Don't
okay.
assume that. I mean, I'm not gonna finish my statement.
Are you trying to say some women would like it?
Oh God, no,
no.
Okay, I'm working through a whole commercial spot for them involving this.
This is the marketer
naked man with the blurred out images and the special punchlines you can use.
I don't know if anyone took film, but anyway.
Planet Fitness, call me.
Getting away from that, we have the sad story down in Narragansett. We had the story yesterday where they said it was a suspicious death of a woman. And they said, and they've arrested somebody, and he was cooperating. And that was it. And now more word comes out. And now the son allegedly strangles his mother down there in Narragansett, and he admitted to it.
Yeah. He stayed there after he called the police. He called the police.
He called
on
911.
himself.
Yes.
On himself.
Says he got into an argument with his mother. He's 27, by the way.
Yep.
Oh boy.
It doesn't say how old she is. Gets into an argument with her, allegedly strangles her. Then he calls 911 to tell him, I got into an argument with my mother. I strangled her, and I think I killed her. So now and he doesn't leave the house, and they all rush in. And yes, she's dead, and he's arrested. For this because he admitted to it.
Well, he had immediate remorse, obviously.
Holy
cow!
Yeah, he was arraigned yesterday, and he's being held at the ACI without bail.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's where he should be.
It is.
And it's weird because on murder charges, even though you have admitted it, your defense, even if it's a public defender, will put in a plea of not guilty.
Right, because
they have to.
Yeah, and they'll try to.
I've asked Bob a lot of that.
Because the investigation's not done, like they just are assuming there's more details, maybe mental health, maybe
I was just thinking that. Yep. Could be pleading insanity.
Maybe, but can you plead insanity if you do what you do and then pick up the phone and call 911? Seems to be
a moment of passion or something like that, or the crime of passion. Crime of passion. You're just so wrapped up in the moment, your emotions are so high, and
usually it's usually not between mother and son.
No, but I mean, if your mother's telling you to do something and you don't want to hear it, or you want money from your mother and your mother's not giving it to you, and there's a million. Well, I know
you went to a different direction.
Went right into the dark place. I'm just saying.
Well, it's possible, I guess. But it's still a crime,
right?
All right. So more on this to come out and see what his mental capacity is and where it goes from here, and whether or not he gets a
I would
plea
guess his
agreement of
mental
some sort.
capacity is not good.
Well, but you never know.
never know.
Maybe she was, like you said, maybe she was throwing him out.
Maybe.
Get out! Yeah, I need help with the mortgage, and you're not helping. You're a
Right.
hindrance.
There's a million different reasons why
Yeah,
you could
get
find
out.
yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
But you don't kill your mother
Well,
to get out of
you
the situation.
you know you really shouldn't. So
He says that, you
I would-
really
I would
shouldn't
av-
do
I
that.
would avoid
like
it.
that's something that happens. You shouldn't really.
Really rethink that.
all right. So then we had the guy up in Massachusetts who was in prison and just decided
There's a
to
lot
walk
of
away.
guy stories this
There
morning.
are a lot of
I
guy
don't know what's
stories.
Women
happening.
are not doing anything wrong.
No, that's
We're
that's right.
perfect.
Practically
That's-
perfect in every way.
Mostly perfect.
Sure. But did you hear about? It was an inmate. He was in Norfolk, and he walked away, and they caught him basically on the Foxborough Walpole line, which is a pretty decent walk.
Yeah.
Young, not a young guy, like 66 or so. He's in prison for.
He's red. He's red from Shawshank.
That's right. But I wanted to read what's he in for, and I hope and I did find out he was in for stealing a car.
Oh.
So
that's
I don't know
minor.
how. But now that you've walked away, more years are going to
Yeah.
be added onto your sentence.
Yep. Well, when did I steal a car, and when did he go in, and how much time did he have
Well,
left?
I don't have any of that information. They just said, well, this is what he was in for. And I don't know if it's a mental health thing where he didn't know.
I think I'd be
think
more
the prison's
concerned that he
this way.
walked away from prison, and like that's Norfolk is
And that just
isn't that
happened.
the old Cedar Junction up there on Route 1A?
I'm not. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Like, we should probably be looking at our
Yeah.
security
Okay.
protocols.
It does say
It's not a short walk.
No.
That we're talking about.
Elderly inmate walked away from the state prison in Norfolk. Returned to custody. He's 72. Sorry, I had the wrong age, but he's even older.
But
72.
even that, you're thinking physical fitness, like that's a long walk for someone in their 70s.
Well, it just said so they noticed he was missing, and when the guards viewed the security footage, they saw him leave the track area and enter the woods. So he's already outside the prison, which I guess it's minimum. It must
I think
be
it's minimum security. Yeah, it's not a.
And he was located a short time later, and returned to the minimum security.
I think
prison,
we should
so-
focus on the fact that he walked that distance and he didn't try to steal another car.
That is
Well,
excellent.
He's not
point.
repeating the crime that he
Right.
committed that landed him in jail. He
Well,
walked.
He was smart because he walked into the woods, and now he's meandering through the woods. He's not out on Route 1.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Cruising along, thumbing, trying to look for a ride.
Yeah, I'm
to
just
go
saying,
somewhere.
like there's something to look at there.
It's a positive.
Okay.
There's the positive.
Positive.
When's the last time you saw someone hitchhike?
Oh God, not for a long.
And doesn't it
time.
make you nervous when you see it?
Yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable. Makes me a little shifty.
The last time I saw it, it was a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6, up in Maine. But it was someone with a huge backpack and carrying a sign that just said, like Portland or wherever he was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Not someone with nothing, thumbing.
Right.
Kind of thing. He was walking along with the sign and see if anyone would pick him up. But since then, down in the southern New England, I haven't seen anyone hitchhike in such a long time.
No, and you
It's
get
just 'cause
uncomfortable
it's-
when you see it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just such a
feels-
bad idea.
It is. And I remember one time, this is a long time ago, 40 years maybe, where it was in Cumberland, and it was 2 girls hitchhiking.
Oh.
And I pulled over to pick them up because I know I'm safe.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm driving up Mendon Road, and so I can bring them wherever they want to go. But as I'm driving along, I'm like, well, I've really put myself
You have in a really
in
bad
a really
spot.
bad spot. Who knows what they're going to do or what
Yeah.
they're going to
Or
say.
accuse you of, or
accuse me of. I'm like, well, I'm going to get to where either I'm splitting off or get them to wherever they wanted to go. And I said, well, I really shouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah, no.
And but it's also the last time I ever saw 2 girls hitchhiking.
Yeah. Again, the times have changed.
Yeah,
That is not a mode of transportation you want to take.
no.
I did it all the time though, trying to get home from high school.
Did you see there's a news story on this morning about a couple that took an Uber ride, and the Uber driver got into an accident, and they tried to sue Uber, and Uber said nope. Their lawyer said you can't sue Uber because when you sign on to the app, you agree to not hold Uber responsible for the driver's actions or something like that.
Who reads that though?
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, it's one of those mile-long disclaimers.
right.
So you're saying they got hurt in the accident and wanted to sue Uber because
Yeah.
they got into an accident and got hurt?
Yeah.
But why
Oh,
not
I
just
never thought about that
sue the
happening.
driver and not the company? Can you still?
I ran out the door to come here, so I didn't hear the rest of the
okay.
story. Sorry. I'll have to check that.
If it were, I could see that if there was like a clause somewhere, but if if I say he, I assumed it was a he as a driver, but if there was
I've
reckless
had,
driving,
I've had female Uber drivers.
right? So it could be either, right?
Yeah.
But if they were, I guess, acting illegally, I don't know what they were doing, speeding, swerving, whatever,
Yeah.
acting reckless,
can
and
go
we got
after
into
the
an
driver.
accident, I would think I would have the right to sue.
They're just gonna find the right lawyer, Tim, is what it comes down to. Because I've always been told by lawyers, it's on the back of, if you go to a baseball game, on the back of the ticket, it says you can't sue us if you get hit in the stands with a baseball,
Yeah, pay attention.
like a foul ball.
Right.
That's right. You assume the responsibility that you might get hurt.
Right.
Flying baseballs, flying bats, flying catcher's equipment, things
Yep.
like that. And I've been told by lawyers that means nothing. And if you get hit by a baseball, you should sue the team.
Well, because at least they'll settle.
That's right. That's
At
right.
least they're going to settle.
So the same thing.
Which is why they finally
find
put up
someone to go
fences all the way
super-
down the first and
down
third
the
base
line.
lines to the foul balls.
Yeah.
So, which is probably the right thing to do.
It is, and it's actually saved a lot of people from getting hurt.
Right.
But if this happened, you're just going to find the right lawyer that will go and just file the right paperwork to go against Uber.
Right.
And maybe you'll get a settlement there.
Yeah.
Get a few bucks. Everybody's
Sure.
money hungry.
Money, that's right. All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program. More coming up. It's time for the weather forecast being brought to you by Allstate.
Mostly cloudy skies today with a high of 66 and a breeze from the east. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, overnight low of 49, calm wind. Thursday's weather, mostly sunny with a high of 71 and calm wind. Friday, mostly sunny and 76. Saturday, a slight chance of a shower in the afternoon, partly sunny skies with a high of 73. Sunday, sunny with a high near 68. Monday, a 50-50 chance of showers, mostly cloudy, 65. And on Tuesday, sunshine and 61 degrees.
Outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street with cloudy skies, we have 58 degrees. At the turn of this century, 27% of people who passed away were cremated. By the year 2020, that figure rose to 56%. The Cremation Association of America projects that by the year 2040, 4 out of 5 Americans will choose cremation over a casket burial. Berarducci Funeral Home and Cremation Care Center of Woonsocket can answer your questions about the cremation process. Go online to providencecremation.com. Berarducci Funeral Home and Cremation Care Center on Spring Street, Woonsocket. Let them create the perfect service for your loved one. Berarducci Funeral Home and Cremation Care Center.
You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
Lou Mandeville here to tell you the only place to get your local high school and college scores, as well as the Pats, Bruins, Celtics, and Sox is on My Morning Sports Reports. And they are right here on ON 1240, Monday through Friday on the Morning Fun Show.
Clothes at chefs. Never mind. All right, it is Coffee In here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan here with Melissa Smith and Tim Draper. And Tim, time for a first message from Navigant Credit Union.
Thank you, Joe. We're talking a lot about security and the importance of, identity theft is an issue that's still out there that people fall victim to all the time. So if you have documents at your house that have your name and social security number and things like that on it that are older, and you want to get rid of them, we're actually hosting a shred event this weekend on Saturday afternoon from 12 to 3. We have 5 locations. I'll give them to you in a second. And you can bring all your shreddable items to the credit union in the parking lot and drop them off. And our partners are going to go and take them for you, put them in the truck, grind them all up, and then they are gone. And that's one really final way of making sure that the documents that you have, the important documents that you've had, don't fall into the wrong hands and have information on them that somebody can use and steal. So the one that's going to probably affect most of us here in Woonsocket is our Slatersville branch at 925 Victory Highway. So our Slatersville branch over by the plaza. You can go in there from 12 to 3 on this Saturday, October 5th. Or you could go to Central Falls if you're down that way at 693 Broad Street. If you are near the Smithfield, our Smithfield main office, we're going to have a shredding truck there as well. We're going to have one at our Riverside branch out there in East Providence if you are in that neck of the woods. And then if you're on the FM signal, I think you might actually be able to hear us for our North Kingstown branch at 1041 Tenrod Road, which is our newest location. We're going to have a shred truck there as well. So we've kind of got the top half of the state covered this time around. So again, if you have any old documents that you would like to get rid of and dispose of in a very safe manner and secure manner, then please join us for our shred events from 12 to 3 this Saturday.
All right, Tim, thanks. And other things going on. We criticized this back when it started, back when school started in September. Providence came out and said, okay, we're going to fine people that stopped school buses. With the stoplights out and the lights are flashing,
Right.
and people are blowing by it in both directions, I guess. And Providence said, okay, we're going to start fining you next month. So you had a free ride all of September. It's like, why do you get a free ride? You should know this. You're taught this in driver's ed.
Yes, you
Don't
are.
pass a stopped school bus with a stop sign out.
Right.
But they're giving them a free ride. But now that it's October, okay, Providence has said, we're starting to do fines.
Did they put the cameras on the buses there? Because I know Cumberland's putting the cameras on the buses. If they don't already have it, they may actually already have the cameras on the buses.
Yes, all Providence public school buses are equipped with technology that includes stop arm enforcement cameras to detect vehicles that pass while the bus is stopped with its lights activated.
I mean, it's unfortunate that we have to spend money to do that, and that shouldn't just be like, okay, people, don't be stupid. There are kids that are going to walk in front of that bus, and if you're blowing by it, chances are high that you're going to hit one of them. So the fact that we have to, the rest of the world has to pay for technology that should just be something people do is amazing to me.
What happened to, aren't there some buses that have like an arm that comes down?
Yes.
Yeah,
come
but
out.
it comes out off the front bumper,
It's
I
just
believe.
the front, but what about the
Right.
back?
No.
I don't think there's anything
No,
on the
there's
back.
just one.
Not that it'll prevent, but if I'm gonna take a chance, I'm gonna damage my
Right.
car.
Right.
Might be a little bit more of a deterrent. I know that sounds sad. People wouldn't think about killing a kid, but
Right.
Well, most of the issues are cars coming in the opposite direction of the bus. Mostly the cars behind the bus. Those people are going to stop and wait.
Yeah, they've
it's the ones
already-
coming in the other direction.
they've made so many improvements to buses. Like, I'll just share quickly.
Yeah.
My first, I really only had 2 tickets in my life. I know, you're shocked. I'm a very good driver. One ticket was 2 weeks after I got my license in my neighborhood, picking up a girl in my neighborhood to go to school. And I swear to God, the bus was pulled over, but there were no lights at that time, like flashing bells and
Yep.
whistles saying don't go by. And the stop sign at the time was on the left side, and the bus had pulled up in front of the house of this person that she was picking up.
Yeah.
But I thought they were just picking up the monitor or something. I didn't see a stop sign, so I went around the
Around
bus.
it, and they got you.
The bus wrote down my license plate, gave it to the police, got a ticket in the mail with a note. I had to go to the principal in the school, had to get like a letter of, I'm trying to remember how, I had to request a letter of like good behavior or whatever, basically saying I'm a good kid. I would never have, violated a law like that. And I got it waived, but I'll never forget that. But since then, I feel like there are so many bells and whistles
Yeah,
on
you
the bus.
should
How do
notice
you
it.
know not to go around them?
Yeah.
Well, right.
Back then, we're talking a long time ago, there was none of those safeguards, and now I feel like there's a lot more. So people are still going by and being stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the citations will range, first fine is $250, and then our subsequent fines will go up to $500 for illegally passing the buses. So just do the right thing. You should always do the right thing when
Right.
you're driving with school buses. But
Right.
Providence is going to try to hit you with fines.
I'm more
So
aggravated
something
at the
to be
speed
aware
cameras in front of the schools than the cameras on a bus. I think cameras on a bus are fine, but
Yeah.
I've been dinged 3 times in Pawtucket. The same
Pawtucket
stupid spot.
is, so, you're right,
You'd
you're
learn.
right, you're right. I
But
also got, yeah.
Yes,
You know how
you're right,
slow-
Joe. You think I would learn?
that. And you know how slow 20 miles an hour is?
Right.
Oh my gosh, that is
Right.
slow.
31
is.
miles an hour gets you a ticket.
Doesn't that kill you? That is.
I think-
you're so
And
close.
that was all 3 tickets, like
Wow,
31 and
31.
32.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
And it was the middle of the day, so the kids are all in class. They're in school. It's not even like they're
Oh
out.
no, yeah, that's right. But the cameras work.
Cameras
the,
work
the entire
during the
7 to 2
yep,
or
the
whatever
school day.
it is.
was
I
so
feel like
aggravated.
I'm just going to comment on the roads that you're talking about where people are passing these buses. It's probably a little road rage moment, right? Like you're on a main road in inner city Providence or Pawtucket or wherever, and this bus is stopping every other block.
Yeah, it bothers you.
That has to be evaluated because I got stuck in Cranston similarly on Atwood Ave a couple weeks ago, and I got stuck, and I was only a mile from my hairdresser,
Right.
and I got stuck, and I was literally.
So
So people got frustrated, and they took a right up a side street, went
Go try to go
parallel
around
to
it.
cut down, and all I could think in my head was, why isn't it the reverse? Why take that big bus off the main road where kids might potentially get hurt, and literally put that bus running parallel on the higher side of that neighborhood? But
and I'm looking at buses these days, and I don't know if every bus is full to the max.
They're not.
Well, it's not.
And so I say to myself, why do we have buses that hold 55 kids or 44 kids or whatever it is? Why can't we have smaller buses? Not the mini buses, but maybe something in between size that is probably more fuel efficient.
Because these bigger ones still work. And
Well,
we
I understand,
don't
but
wanna
when you
scrap
trade them in and replace them, why wouldn't you go to slightly smaller ones? That
I
you
don't
could
even-
do that with the neighborhoods, because I can understand, like, the bus drivers may not be able to navigate certain corners because the buses are long and those side streets are tight. But if you had smaller vehicles where you could do a little more of that internal picking up, now they'll tell you that, well, you know what, that's a way you use more gas because you're going down side streets now at slower speeds, and you're starting and stopping more, and you're turning. And it wasn't UPS. They do a thing where
Oh,
they
yeah,
try to make sure
right-hand
that
turns.
they eliminated right-hand turns or something because they felt that that was
Yeah.
that wasted more gas by making a right-hand turn than it did a left-hand.
It's
it was
true.
some
It's
big
true.
thing.
Bizarre.
my father-in-law
Right.
said the same. He worked for Hood, and he said they
Right.
did the
Heard
same
that.
study, and it's more
Yeah,
fuel
so in the
efficient.
cities, it's like you did a path and you had to make sure
take
you
out
were-
left?
Yeah, left hand, like
Oh
ne-
my
like-
God! But you know,
that's
I guess
gone.
what blows your mind is, here we go, right back in our day. I mean, I lived in a giant neighborhood, a fairly new developed neighborhood. My parents built the house the year that I was born, loaded with little kids, big bus stops, but we still all walked probably like not a mile, but close to a mile to get to the congregate stop in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's that feeling too. I'm looking at these buses. I'm stopping every other block. They can't have these kids puddle up to
Well, because they'd have to walk on the main roads, and in Cumberland, there's no sidewalks on Diamond Hill Road. That would be a problem. I could see that being an issue.
Okay, so I can see that. I'm talking about inner city. I'm talking
Yeah.
about
You're
like
right.
Providence, Cranston,
Yeah.
Pawtucket, where it's more concentrated, higher population. Woonsocket too. I don't know why we're taking Woonsocket out of that. I'm sure they have the same problem. But it just feels like these kids can't all get just a couple blocks down the way, puddle up, make it one big stop, so these people don't have road
Fewer
rage.
stops
and-
on the right.
Did we take longer on this topic than you planned?
A little bit.
Okay.
He's just crossed off half his list over there.
But that's okay.
We could do one topic a show and kill it. Like we could bury it in the ground.
We had a former corrections officer sentenced to try. He was trying to smuggle drugs into the Wyatt Detention Center down there in Central Falls. 26-year-old Christopher White was trying to smuggle the drugs in. Figured, he was a corrections officer there. Probably figured he knew the ins and outs, and this is the way I can do it. Get a little extra money on the
Get some money,
side,
right.
and like that. But no. So he's not going to spend any time in jail because he's received credit for the time he's already served.
Well, it's great.
So he got the slap on the wrist. So he gets 2 years probation with the first 6 months in home confinement with the GPS monitoring.
Okay.
So he previously admitted in federal court that while he was on duty, he tried to deliver papers. It's weird how they get the drugs in. They soak paper in the marijuana.
Yeah.
It's weird. And this is what he did. He tried to deliver papers soaked with a Schedule I synthetic cannabinoid. And I guess, I don't know, the inmates just, roll it up, or I don't know how they smoke it. I don't know how do they start a fire.
It's like
So-
cannabinoid. What?
Well,
What?
it's-
Say it again. I mean cannabis, and then
That's right. It's
where you're
paper-
going with this. But is there a special term that I'm?
Papers, yes, paper soaked with a Schedule I synthetic cannabinoid.
Cannabinoid.
Cannabinoid. Cannabinoid.
I asked the question because listeners were wondering the same
Okay.
thing.
Well,
Lots of
It's like cannabinoid. It sounds like a
it's-
really giant,
It's fake marijuana.
and it's fake. And it's
Sounds
fake.
like a candy. It's a cannabinoid.
And so prosecutors say White was approached by an inmate who wanted him to bring drugs into the facility. Well, I'm sure that's how it starts.
Yeah.
I'm sure they approach everyone, every officer. The inmate's texts and phone calls were being monitored, and White was arrested when he tried to bring the contraband to the inmate.
Well,
And so
shouldn't do that. I think that's
Nope.
the first rule
Well,
in correction officer school. Don't bring drugs into the prison.
Don't bring anything to the prisoners. Don't bring food. Don't bring M&Ms. Don't bring no,
right.
no.
That is
that's
not your job.
That's not our job. Is to bring you
No,
stuff.
it's not supposed to be
Right.
like
not-
luxury living in the ACI. No.
But I can't imagine what the inmates offer correctional officers. If you do this for me, I will give you whatever,
Right.
money, guns. I don't know. And yeah,
Everybody's looking for a quick buck.
I would say the seasoned officers who probably, as they always say, heard it all, are the ones saying, no, this guy was young, and saying,
Yeah.
well,
Making stupid mistakes.
I can skirt the system. I know how to avoid getting caught because I'm smarter than your average bear, and you get caught. There you go. All right, break time once again here in the Coffee and Program. So, Tim, time for a second message from Navigant Credit Union.
Thanks, Joe. We have, we talk a lot about personal accounts and such, but I want to make sure that everyone out there knows that if you have a small business and you're looking for a new relationship or you'd like somebody to evaluate your current banking relationship with you, our team of business bankers would be happy to come on out and take a look at what's happening with your business and see if we can help you in any way. We do have a full line of business products and services, which includes all business checking accounts, our Quest Business Money Market accounts. We have a new Anchor account, which is a business-friendly account. We have debit and credit cards for businesses, all of the lending products that you could need, from equipment financing to building financing to cash reserves, lines of credit. We do business online banking to make your managing your money a whole lot easier. We have a new slew of cash management services, and we'll talk more about that next year in 2025 because they're really just standing that department up now, and it's amazing some of the stuff that we've got going on in terms of cash management for businesses. Still offer night deposit boxes for folks who need night deposit boxes, and we do a bank at work program. So if you would like us to come out and talk to your staff about banking, we're happy to send a team out there to do that as well. So navigantcu.org, you can read all about this stuff online, or you can give us a call 233-4700 and ask one of our great contact center specialists to lead you in the right direction.
All right, Tim, thanks. And the Coffee and Program will continue here on ON Radio.
As drivers, we encounter motorcycles on the road every day, and motorcycle safety is a two-way street. So give motorcycles extra space when stopping and starting. Check your mirrors and blind spots. Share the road, but never try and share a lane. Every rider could be a father, a son or a brother, a mother, a daughter or a sister, or the whole world to someone very special. Brought to you by the Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association and the Rhode Island Broadcasters Association.
Hey, it's ON Radio's Cruisin' Bruce Palmer, and I'd love to have you join me every Saturday for the Saturday Block Party. We start at 4 o'clock when I open up the ON Music Vault for you to pick whatever you want to hear or send to somebody special. Yes, the good old radio request days are back. Join me for the Saturday Block Party, Saturdays from 4 until 7 on ON Radio and streaming online at WoonsocketRadio.com.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
All right, it's Coffee and here on ON AM and FM. This is Joe Callahan here with Tim Draper and Melissa Smith. And how long is this longshoreman strike going to last? I'm a little concerned.
As long as it has to.
I'm a little concerned.
I am
Products
too.
are not going back
those
and
guys,
forth.
well,
And
those guys
Stock
are
only
up
with
on your
trips.
wine.
I,
Stock up on your produce.
I like I don't like the guy, but the negotiator for the union out there is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I will cripple you is the word that he used.
But he's right.
And he's 100% right. He goes, how do you think your cars get to you? How do you think your groceries get to the produce line? How do you think you get water? How do you think you get this, that? And he just listed everything off.
But this is going to motivate so many other industries if they get their way. Like I get every industry you talk to, their job is critical to the state of the economy.
Right.
But I just think about it will absolutely cripple us. Our healthcare workers going to get inspired too and say the same thing, and then that can completely cripple America. Like the list could go on and on and on.
It's a domino.
But
you're just like, but they're asking for
70% increase.
Oh, I
and
didn't know it
I'm
was
like,
that high.
Oh yeah,
70%. I
70%.
was blown away.
Wow.
I mean,
Do the
I'm
math
like,
on that.
oh,
So what's
okay.
the average person making
I
an
want-
hour?
I thought I heard them say $30 to $50 an hour. I think longshoremen can make, and then many of them are making $150,000 to $250,000
So
a year.
70% increase
looks
looks pretty significant to me.
right. So,
Maybe they'll settle for 40.
well, I don't know the way this guy's talking. He's
pretty strong.
it's interesting because for him, this is to some degree, it seems like it's it's about respect. Like the businesses that own the shipyards have just basically told him to go pound sand all these years, and now he's just saying, "No, I'm gonna cripple the economy so that the government will get involved and
Yeah.
talk to the businesses and say you need to do this."
Because it's up and down the East Coast, all the way into the Gulf of
Up and down the East
Mexico.
Coast
Like,
and then
wow.
West Coast.
Oh, and the West Coast.
Long,
too?
it's the longshore.
It's very scary.
Wow.
It is
It
very
is.
scary because you just everything is out of whack as it is. We talk about it all the time. You know, good for the people that work at Amazon. I'm
Yep.
not saying anything wrong with them. They figured out that they can go there with very little education and get a really significant salary. But it's so out of whack. And I've talked about like my experience with healthcare and CNAs, like certified trained individuals making barely like enough money to get by, barely above minimum wage. What are the qualifications of the people that are working in these yards? And I'm not assuming that they're not educated individuals, but like that's we can go into like 200 types of industries and kind of measure them up against each other. What are we doing? You're talking
that's
about
where
paying
you're
people
right.
70% more who are already starting at a $30 an hour pay possibly. With maybe next to little education, and you're like, what is happening? And it's going to just roll into a whole lot of other spots.
right.
Very concerning.
It's concern, and this is why the economy is a prime concern going into the election. I think that has to be.
Who does that fall under, by the way? I wanted to ask that.
It's commerce. Well, the strike is labor, is the Secretary of Labor, but the Secretary of Commerce, our own old Gina Raimondo,
Right. Well, that's my next comment.
who basically said the other day that she wasn't focused on it. I'm like, holy cow! How can you not be
Not
focused
be.
on that?
Yeah.
She's had some really bad gaffes in the past couple weeks. The whole let's what did she say about Trump? Let's extinguish him.
He should be
He
extinguished.
should be extinguished, so we never have to deal with him again. And then I'm not really paying attention to this strike thing. Like,
Oh boy.
those are some serious gaffes from the people who are in charge. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I sit there
I
and
didn't
I
hear.
go,
Did this come up last night in the debate? I didn't hear
But
this.
it did-
Maybe I
don't
fell
think it
asleep
came,
at that
I don't
point.
think it came up a lot in the debate at all.
I feel like that would have been an excellent discussion.
Right. I mean, they Israel and that whole situation came up, but it was a
Consumed quite a
very
bit at the
short. I didn't
Gun-
feel like they gave that any.
Gun law came up. Yeah, I didn't hear this touched upon, but I feel like this should be talked.
It probably was. I just wasn't paying attention at the time.
I did quick math, Melissa, and if you're making $30 an hour and you get a 70% raise, now you're making $51 an hour. So
Double your salary, more than double it.
yes, so yeah,
So-
I'll take it.
Yeah.
There's going to be other folks inspired by this. This will not be the last example.
The other thing that they're really they're really concerned about is this whole idea of automation. So they
That's right.
know
Yeah,
they
that's the
know
big-
that if they demand the $70 the 70% increase and they even get 50%, that the businesses that own the shipyards are just going to go, well, we're not going to have the guy in the toll booth checking trucks in. We're going to have this automated system that's got a barcode on the truck that when it comes in, we'll know the truck's here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening now. And that's one of the big things that they're really trying to avoid. And I don't blame them. I think that you start cutting too many jobs like that. And what are those guys going to do that don't have the education
Right.
necessarily to be able to go out and do other things? You know, this is what they do. And now
There's
all
a
of a
bit
sudden
of-
they're on the street without salaries. What do they do? Well, I don't know. Let's find the easy buck. What's the
Yeah,
easy
the
buck?
70% number seems like they're bitter. There's something happening that we're not aware of.
Oh, they are
Condition-
definitely bitter.
Workplace conditions, something. So I don't want to jump in and assume that we know exactly what's happening. But there's got to be something else with whether it's benefit increases, something else been happening for a while.
This guy is a typical old school union guy.
Like a Jimmy Hoffa. Hoffa
These
person?
these people don't respect me. Well, I'm going to show you what respect looks like because I'm going to cripple you.
All right.
And you don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And he's right.
I feel Joe's tone is ready to move on to another topic. Did you hear Joe's tone?
What?
It's got like a dad tone. All right, moving on to. I felt it.
All right, they did a survey out in San Francisco of the people out there and how much money they plan to spend on Halloween this year.
I don't think San Francisco's a good barometer.
That's
for
what
that
that's
I
stuff.
don't
what that's
either.
what they did it. But people on average plan to spend $277.
Okay. In the most expensive place to live,
Yeah.
San Francisco, California, you're going to ask a question about the cost of living. Of course, it's going to be high.
Is this your segue into
They
what's your
plan-
favorite Halloween candy?
No, not really.
Because
What are you
that
going-
also
what are you gonna
comes
be
into
dressed
how
up
much you're
as?
spending. Because the people
But
that are
they-
spending the most are the chocolate-based candies. People are spending the least are the candy corn people.
They say they got of the $277, $76 is going towards candy. You ever spend $76 on candy?
No, but again, I
Ever?
don't live in San Francisco, so to do that study there is, I
well.
think, just crazy. That is sensationalist journalism.
All right.
Let's do that poll in the most expensive place we can do it, and of course the number's going to be higher than everywhere else.
All right.
Nobody's going to spend. What is a bag of
I
candy?
have
$5. You got to buy
never-
6 bags of candy. $30.
I have never spent the money on candy that I thought trick or treaters would consume. Does that make sense? In my old neighborhood in Cumberland, big neighborhood, we would buy 3 bags of candy. When it's gone, it's gone. That was sort of
Shut the lights off.
Shut the lights.
Close
But
the
I
blinds.
know a lot of people that go all out and
Yeah.
they spend tons of money, and it's like I go back to the state of the economy, and if people are really concerned about their grocery bill, like there has to be a limit. And I, as a parent walking a trick or treater around, would be very understanding if the neighborhood I'm going to may run out.
Right.
So buy what you can. Don't go crazy. Don't make yourself broke over a Halloween.
Now, most of the people out there say, what time? You can take a guess. When should you start trick or treating at night?
Oh boy, 6 o'clock to 8 and be done.
You should start between 6 and 7. That's right. All right.
Yeah.
At what age
We
should
sound so
you?
old, by the way.
I know. I just want to shut the lights off.
Back when we were
I'm
trick
not
or
a fan of
treaters, we
Halloween
wanted to be out
personally,
until
Oh, yeah.
8:39.
Right.
But as parents and tired working parents, we're like, yeah, shut
How
the
old,
lights off.
how old should you be when you stop trick or treating?
Oh, I
14.
definitely think 14.
14 is,
I think
is the
14.
age.
I think
14 is
eighth
the
grade.
I
age.
should
Eighth
go on
grade's
Family
the
Feud. I'm
cutoff.
getting these numbers.
This is great.
You get into high school, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was after high school. It was with my daughter and my son. Well, you can go out on your own now. I mean, why am I going with you?
Yeah.
kind of thing now. But then 85% of neighbors ensure an adult is present with kids when they're out trick-or-treating just to try to keep them safe.
Right. It's high school kids that come.
Well,
with
parents
with like a
today
sheet
have
that
got,
they
you
cut out
know.
the eyes on, and they walk around with a. I'm a ghost. Trick or treat.
Oh, yeah. No,
le-
put a witch's hat on and
Yeah.
yeah.
At least they gave us some effort.
Well, I gave a little effort. Right.
I know.
am a
I love how
teenage
you
punk.
say parents follow their kids around to watch them, and I feel like all the parents I see walking around with kids are carrying their Yetis and
Oh yeah, they are.
letting the kids run up to the houses without even.
What's in the Yeti, though?
I
Yeah.
will say.
Oh,
one
no,
year,
that's my point.
One year we had a special hot chocolate for the parents that wanted to come by.
Of course.
Have you seen the neighbors do this? Sometimes they all get together like 3 houses in a row. We meet at the middle house.
Yeah.
They get their fire pit out, their
Yep.
portable fire
Yep.
pit. They have the fire there, and there's like 3 bowls of candy. 'Cause
Yeah.
The 3
Yeah.
houses are
Yeah.
all combined.
We're that-
And then
we're
the-
that people.
And
We're
then
those
there's the cooler. If any parents want,
That's
a
right.
little something something.
We live in a neighborhood that is like everyone's got 2 or 3 acres each, and I learned very quickly the fatigue that takes over with the kids with the driveways, and then it wasn't like the neighborhood I grew up in, which was more like 20,000
right
square
there on
foot
the street,
lots where
right.
you're just
Yep.
and I so that philosophy, that gather at one house in the middle, fire pit, whatever, have a little barbecue, a little whatever, and then disperse out, walk along with them. But it takes a toll, all that walking.
It does,
Yeah.
especially when you're not used to it. And then you realize, oh, look how far I am from home. Now I got to walk back. All right. Did we talk about Alaska's Fat Bear Week competition?
No.
Last week it must have been another
No, but
portion
why
of
didn't we
coffee.
open with this?
Because I don't
This
know.
sounds very
But
good.
it's a competition they have in Alaska, and you can bet on which bear, because they're all eating now to hunker down for the winter, and you bet on which bear you think is going to get the fattest. So that's the competition. But as usual, there's a problem now, because it's been delayed delayed some because one of the bears has died because it got into a fight with another bear.
Oh no!
Over
So
food.
one of the contestants is what you're saying.
One of the
Yes, one of the contestants. This took place in the Katmai National Park and Preserve. This attracts fans from around the world to bet on your favorite bear. Those same fans watched the famous brown bears on webcams, which caught all the action of the fatal fight between a larger male bear and a female Monday morning. That's surprising that they would fight each other. The male was seen dragging the female's body out of the Brooks River. Wow. In a statement, the park says this is a reminder that each bear is a real being competing with others to survive. The Fat Bear Week had planned to launch last night. Instead, organizers are expected to announce the Fat Bear candidates this evening. And so, and now we have people, cheating.
So it's a,
Now, how do we cheat in this?
I don't know.
This is how you
You
cheat.
leave food out for the bear.
That's right.
Is it really?
Just minutes after the death
20
announcement,
pounds of bacon.
the national park sent out another release saying it's also closing a portion of this river where the fight took place after employees witnessed 4 incidents of fishermen feeding fish to the bears.
Oh. I went right to the
Well,
bacon.
Yep. You were to the
Maybe
bacon.
they don't like bacon.
Fish, yeah,
They
But
probably don't.
They will eat fish though. So,
Yeah. Oh man.
so there's always someone looking for. That's
well,
like,
the fact that they're gaming on it.
yeah. That's
I
like
wonder if IGT has any contract on that stuff.
remember it was 2 years ago. There was a
Bally's.
There was a fishing competition in like Ohio, and people were caught, and it was whoever caught the largest trout. Let's say.
Yep.
And people were
Put
taking
lead-
the trout. They were
filling them
putting
with lead. I do remember
pills,
that. Yep.
In the fish.
The lead weights. Yep.
To make them heavier.
Oh.
I said, what, to win $20?
Yeah. Actually, those tournaments, you
Well,
win a
there's
lot of
probably
money.
more money.
Right.
There's probably more
There are
money.
boats involved and trucks.
So
and-
it's like, geez, nothing is sacred.
no,
anymore.
nothing is sacred. I
so-
told you, try to get an easy buck.
Your little your shark tracking app.
Hmm.
That'd be kind of a neat thing to add that piece.
To the Bears? Or
Like
to the-
similarly.
Yeah.
Like as a fundraiser, like Save the Sharks kind of
yeah.
thing.
You'd have
like
to
save
tag the Bears. I don't know if they tag the Bears.
That must have
Well,
been.
I'm
a-
assuming they must have to tag the bears to track their eating and where they're
yeah,
located.
'cause
And
that's how
how do
you-
you weigh them in?
that's how you,
how do you weigh them in?
Can't be webcams everywhere, so yeah, they are tagged. This is my favorite bear. But that must have been a pretty brutal fight between
I would think
the
so.
male and the female bear to have one kill the other.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like yikes. That's.
I need
but
you to
nature-
research. I'm fixated now. How do you weigh them in?
Nature,
How does
nature
this
at its-
happen?
at its
Your
finest.
homework, Joe, is for next week. Let us know.
Well,
I won't
really
be here.
got
So
really
fill me
sharp
in.
claws and really big teeth.
Yeah.
So-
No, I mean, like, do you have them come and stand on a scale? How do you
weigh
get
them?
them to weigh
No,
in?
they're not weighing them. It's by size. It's the fat bear. We're just going by visual. This is the fattest bear.
Oh, come on.
someone-
What if
I
they're
don't
having
know.
a bloated day?
They're not humans.
This is coming from the
What if
woman's
they have a
perspective.
bloated
I'm just
day?
saying, we all
I
know
love
what
it.
that is. We could look 10 pounds heavier on a bloated day. The next day, it goes right down.
Webcams. The camera always adds 10 pounds.
There you go.
There you go.
What if
So,
that bear had a lot of water that
I
day,
know.
you know?
and not a lot of fish. Okay. Well, we got to run, so enough on the fat bears. I'll try to do a little more research, all right? All right, this is Joe Callahan. Have yourself a great day. Melissa Smith, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Tim Draper, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Joe. I'll see you in a couple weeks. And everybody go out there and enjoy the God-given day. Looks like there's going to be sun.
All right, I'm
gonna
Joe
be a beautiful
Callahan.
day.
Stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do you remember at 9:30 here on ON Radio?
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news. The bankrupt Stewart Healthcare remaining hospitals in Massachusetts are now officially being operated by other